Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, and I'm here with Keith, co-star of my upcoming film, If, only in theaters May 17th. Do you want to tell people the big news? All right, I'll do it. Sign up now and you'll get unlimited for $15 a month and 6 months of Paramount Plus Essential Plan on us. MintMobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 equivalent to $15 per month. Unlimited over 40 gigabytes per month. Face lower speeds. Videos at 480p. Active Mint customers by 531.24 get 6 months of Paramount Plus Essential Plan. Auto renews after 6 months. Offer ends May 31st, 2024. Separate Paramount Plus registration required. Terms and conditions apply if rated PG.
Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome to another edition of Unfiltered with Michael Gardner. This is the Patriot Angle Podcast. Joining us today is Grace Huang. She is with Lotus Coaching. How are you, Grace? Welcome to today's podcast.
Hello, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. I am excellent. And how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Battling the mixture of our bipolar weather here in the state of Georgia. 1 minute it is 40 degrees. The next minute it's 70 degrees. So it doesn't know what it wants to do.
Wow, that's definitely a challenging as far as regulating mood is concerned, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. So basically, Grace, we have been kind of watching your content on social media, and it's very interesting. You do have very interesting type of videos, so to speak. Can you basically elaborate? What your business entitles? I know you have different types of, if we want to call them branches, or different segments to your company itself, Lotus Coaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I am a life coach for women, and predominantly what I do is I work through women's past traumas. So I do some inner child healing, I do sexual trauma healing, I do shadow work integration, and all of this is to liberate women to step into the most empowered, embodied version of themselves and to reclaim their sacred femininity. And so along with this, I also do group coaching as well. I run a Facebook group for women called the Savage Sisterhood Sanctuary. And so I will do weekly sister circles where women can communicate with each other and join in sacred sisterhood and communion. And I also do energy healing work as well. So it's very, very similar to Reiki in that I focus on healing the chakras and helping energy to move through the body to blast through some of the blockages that we have in our energetic systems. And I also offer tarot and oracle readings as well.
Wow, you stay pretty busy.
I do indeed.
So I had one question, with everything, that you kind of, you stay on a busy schedule. I was always curious of different types of businesses, especially with, COVID and everything. Has that been a big damper on your business at all, or you don't really see a challenging effect through that?
That's a beautiful question, Michael. And at the beginning of COVID, there definitely was a transition phase, right? There was a transition phase because I was predominantly doing a lot of work and workshops and things like that in person. I was seeing clients in person locally. At the time, I was in Rochester, New York. Now, after adjusting to the effects of COVID and everything like that, I have moved my business almost entirely online, except for doing the energy healing work, which can only really be done in person for me personally. So at first it was a little bit challenging. However, I viewed this as an opportunity to step up into the role of leadership in the community, because I'm sure you remember, Michael, that when COVID started, the community kind of collapsed, right? Everyone was in fear and panic, and nobody really knew what was going on. So I really saw that as an opportunity to embrace my role as a community leader and healer, and really step in to that to help offer guidance and support, and a safe space for people to share. So for me, COVID has actually been an incredible space to offer more of what I do online, and to enter the world of the digital marketplace.
Oh, wow. You did mention a topic there, a little segment here on the podcast, that you do help with the fear. Now, do you relate that to, somewhat of the fear of COVID? Do you specialize on that? Because there's a lot of people that are scared, of this new virus and disease. Do you help basically almost like counsel in a way, through the spiritual channel?
I don't typically do coaching about COVID. Most of my clients, they aren't coming to me for that.
Okay.
I do work with fear in general. Like, there's a lot of fear in limiting beliefs, a fear of becoming empowered, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of being less than perfect, fear of being unworthy, fear of being unlovable. Those are the type of fears that I tend to focus on in my work with clients, and that's what people usually seek me out for. Though at the beginning of COVID, I was offering a lot of free community service in holding space for people through like weekly Zoom calls and things like that, just to offer some guidance for people who were experiencing a lot of that fear.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that, through your videos, that you also express, that always believe in yourself. Your body is beautiful, and never doubt yourself. I see a lot of videos through social media, on your social media account, coming out like that. Is that more or less of something that you specialize in more, with that particular?
Yeah, I tend to do a lot of self-worth reprogramming, feeling worthy of being loved, right? I think a lot of us have this worthiness wound where we feel inherently unworthy and undeserving of all of the beautiful things in life, like abundance in all forms, financial abundance, abundance in love, abundance in connection, abundance in purpose and joy and fulfillment, right? So I tend to do a lot of that work, as well as working on, for women in particular, working a lot on dismantling some of those subconscious programs that we received in childhood about what it is to be born a girl, what it is to become a woman, and what that looks like in today's patriarchal society.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm a lot of people see me mainly, and I'm going to admit, as a political podcast host, but as of late, I have been branching into different types of topics where I'd like to, open it up a little bit more, become more of a universal type of podcast, to basically, express, to the podcast world, if we want to use those words. There's more than just politics. We're talking about today about spiritual healing and spiritual balance and such, which I think, Grace, even in today's society, I have seen a loss of words on this topic. A lot of people are really not, practicing it as much as they should. You know what I mean? And it's really good for your body. It's good for your for your spiritual character as a person, it helps you. I'm a person that believes in a lot of nature. I don't take modern medicine. I think it's the worst. I believe that, for the simplest things in life, a simple headache, nature is like one of the biggest cures,
Right.
just a little R&R, right? Rest and relaxation can cure anything in this world,
I
and
hear you.
and I'm a strong believer on that. I really am.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense, Michael. And I love what you said about having a more holistic approach to healing and not really resonating with the way that Western medicine tends to operate. And I am very much in alignment with you on that point, Michael. I worked in the Western medicine field for 6 years, actually, and I saw a lot of what was broken about our system, and that it was really just slapping a Band-Aid on a lot of different problems where the root cause is actually something energetic and spiritual, right? And then anything that manifests in the physical first has to have an energetic cause. Like when we think of an idea, it first has to exist energetically before we can create that physical thing in the material world, right? So the same is true for any form of disease. And like you said, something like a headache, when somebody can take like aspirin or Advil or Tylenol or any number of drugs for something like a headache, there are also energetic root causes for it as well. And it can be treated, like you said, with some grounding in nature, some breath work, just re-oxygenating the body, because the majority of us have actually forgotten how to breathe, to actually breathe deeply. Hydration, there's things like essential oils, like peppermint oil is really good for headaches as well. And different foods that you can be eating too to change that. And underneath all of those different natural medicines are the root causes that is causing repetitive headaches that needs to be addressed as well.
Oh, sure. Without a doubt. Every now and then, I advertise that on this show, guys, I can preach this, until the cows come home, you know what I mean, Grace? But, it's up to the individual to literally partay in this. It's up to them, to each his own. If you want to take medicine, that's up to you, but it does so much damage to the body. It really does. Let's think about, different cultures in this world, ancient Egyptians, the Mayans, Native Americans. You go back to the ancient civilizations in Asia. They didn't use medicines. They relied morely on nature. Every one of those civilizations relied on that, and these people lived long, healthy, happy lives. You know what I mean? It does wonders. It really does.
Yeah, and I think that nature actually offers the best medicine, because there are tons of medicinal herbs and plants for us to use that
Sure.
Pachamama, Mama Earth, put here for us to live in symbiosis with, right? There are all these different kinds of natural medicines that are available to us. However, most of us have lost this information as humanity, as a collective consciousness, has kind of lost a lot of this information. A lot of this information has also been blocked from our access, right? Because of the way the medical field is run. And a lot of us, a lot of the healers, particularly women, are starting to tap back into this knowledge that we used to hold on to. The ancient medicine people of tribes and shamans and healers had this information, and we are now beginning to reconnect with that. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And you're absolutely right, Michael, that people have to be able to discern and choose for themselves which path feels most in alignment with them and who they are today, and what would be most nourishing to their journey.
Exactly. I brought up ancient civilizations such as Native Americans and Egyptians. Israel, not Israel. Well, we can name Israel to an extent, but Asia, right? All these past civilizations before us. I mean, the Native Americans proved that using aloe is the best natural antibiotic in the world. You know, a simple rash. I mean, you use aloe, it cures it like within like a day, possibly 2 days. And it's so much more natural than, using the over the counter crap, I mean,
Right. Absolutely. And something like tea tree oil is antifungal, it can get rid of a lot of fungal diseases as well.
oh, sure. Yeah. And a lot of athletes are using that, even for, athlete's foot, especially, NFL and all the sports leagues in the States. I mean, that tea tree oil, I mean, it works like wonders. It really does.
Interesting. I didn't know that athletes were tapping into that too. That's beautiful.
Oh, some of them, not all of them. Some. There are some that that live a holistic type of lifestyle. But my next topic here I wanted to discuss with you is since we're talking about natural medication right now, is the topic of and this is probably on everybody's thoughts, especially in your field, of your insights and views on medical marijuana. Do you see a benefit of that, or do you see it more of a just a recreational drug?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you, Michael. So yes, I do believe in the medicinal properties of cannabis, and I also believe that the benefits of cannabis are best utilized when eaten, though also when we ingest it orally, I think is when we get the full benefits of cannabis, because you get all the different compounds that way, versus when you smoke it, it's predominantly THC that we are receiving. Though I do still believe that smoking it too is something that can be used very beneficially when applied with the appropriate intention, right? It depends on the person's intention behind using it, just like using any other tool or any other medicine. It depends on the way and the manner in which it is used and what it is being used for.
Yeah, the benefits, whether you're smoking it through a pipe or, through some type of other instrument, it does help and control, certain aspects of different things you may experience, a headache or anxiety, even depression. It does mild it down. It doesn't cure it, but it controls it. I've seen people that have seizures, they relate to the cannabis, and it helps it so much. They even tested on dogs. If a dog is basically going to have a seizure, I'm told if you blow a little, vape or, even the vape, that tends to work, So there's a lot of good health benefits on cannabis. A lot of criticism. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but it would be a blessing if it was passed, as a natural drug, because it has a lot of key factors, like you mentioned, a lot. So
I definitely think that's true, Michael. And as far as medicinal substances go, to use cannabis for something like, let's say, pain management, for example, rather than using some of those heavier drugs out there like Oxycontin and things like that, right? Those opioids that are highly addictive.
Oh, yeah. You're not telling me.
Right. And just like terrible for the body, terrible for the mind, for the spirit, for pretty much just terrible all around, right?
Right.
To substitute that with something like cannabis, that yes, it is still a Band-Aid and it can help with a variety of different things. Is that, to me, seems like the far better option.
Yeah. Like I just mentioned before, it's not the cure to the end all type of illnesses and diseases. It controls it to an extent.
Right.
But I would love for it to be more on the market, for people to have access to it, because there's so many restrictions to the so-called world of marijuana, whether it's medical. I mean, even I've seen a lot of health factors with CBD. CBD. There is a little. There's THC and marijuana. It does have that high in it, but that high is a natural high. It's not a high where it's not gonna kill you. I haven't found a study yet where marijuana can kill somebody. I've seen a lot of criticism that it damages the brain cells, but I haven't really looked into that. Have you looked into that, where it actually, people say it damages the brain cells at all, or?
I haven't done a ton of research into that. I do understand that it can certainly impact short-term memory.
Right.
But as far as specific studies, I don't have any that are like readily available for me to like pull out for you.
Yeah. The reason why I'm saying this, Grace, is because, there's not a lot of talk on this subject, even in podcasting. If you tune into a science and a medication type of podcast, right? A medicine type of podcast. There's not a lot of talk on this subject. No one really gets into, cannabis and marijuana and stuff like that. It's not on the radar for some strange reason. I don't know why, but
it can still be kind of taboo to talk about, I think, right? Because I think there's a lot of stigma still around it, much less than there used to be, I would say, but there still is some, and I think that can be why some people will shy away from talking about it. I know, in my own personal life, cannabis has actually helped me a lot in the past. Now I've gotten to a point where I don't really need that medicine anymore, right? So it actually serves me more to not use it. However, in the past, it really helped me a lot with, all kinds of things, particularly mental health challenges that I was experiencing.
Oh, sure. Sure. I can relate to that. I've dealt with, mental health challenging in my early life, pretty much around my early childhood, but I sort of outgrew it, through natural meditation. I practice a lot of meditation, whether it's, hiking through the woods, or, even sometimes sitting on a rock and touching an oak tree. That's my medicine sometimes,
Right. And that's beautiful medicine to have, and most of the time it's free. So that's great.
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up in central New Jersey, and we didn't really have that, leisure or, opportunities for us then. It was, living next to the big city of New York, you didn't really have, mountains near you. There was mountains, but they were, in upstate New York. But, you didn't have all that. You didn't have that opportunity, where I live now in northern Georgia, really, really close. I mean, I'm on the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, the mountains are, within, 40, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm up there. Yeah. I'm up there. Like, I try to get up there at least once a weekend, just to hike. And people look at me like I'm crazy. Like, why are you going hiking? That's like boring. I'm like,
no, not at all.
To me, it's not. It's my high. It's my it's my joy of life. I love it. I love to connect with nature, animals, just about everything. Mother Earth is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah. And she is also like this living, breathing, sentient being as well. As much as we feel her, she feels us too.
You just brought that up, and I know we're running low on time. I'm going to have you on again, if you don't mind, because I mean, we're getting into segments that are really, really interesting, and I love to have a conversation with you for, an hour or two. But, you just mentioned about Mother Nature. I just read an article that Earth could be a live entity. Have
She
have
is.
you have you read into that article?
I have not read into that article. This is something that I know to be true in my spirit, in my very being, in my essence.
Right.
And just to give you a couple of examples, you know how human beings have respiratory systems? We have lungs. That's how we breathe, right?
Right. Nerves and everything else.
Right.
Yes.
So for Mama Earth, right? Mama Gaia, Pachamama, whatever you want to call her by, the trees and the plants, that's her lungs. That is her nervous system, right? I mean, not her nervous system, sorry, the respiratory system. This is how she breathes. And then all the rivers and the oceans, that's like her circulatory system, all of our veins. It's so very similar. And all the fungi that make the mycelium, there we go, finally thought of the word, the mycelium from the network of fungi growing underneath in the soil, that is like her nervous system. It's very similar. The way that the fungi talk to each other is very similar to how the neurons in our brains work, right? So I
Right.
know in my heart and my soul that she is a living sentient being. And science is just beginning to dip its toe into what spirituality already knows. So I
Right.
think it's going to be something to keep an eye on in the next couple decades or so, because even from everything like quantum physics to, now this stuff coming out about Mother Earth to epigenetics, they are all teaching and confirming what a lot of spiritual teachings have already talked about in depth.
Well, we are in a what I like to call a great awakening in the spiritual world. Everything is pretty much waking up,
Yeah.
and I think people are seeing this. And I'm not speaking political here, or I'm not getting into politics. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with science and the spiritual world. Our Mother Earth, our planet is waking up.
Mm-hmm.
It's alive. It's been alive for millions and millions of years, and as much as this planet keeps evolving and everything else, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of more interesting things basically happen
Mm-hmm.
that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And when that happens, Grace, I believe that it's going to shock a lot of people, that don't even possibly maybe not, believe in spiritual healing or believe in spiritual awareness. I think when it does happen, people are going to start waking up and understanding a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm
So,
sure we will find out.
so with that being said, Grace, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I wish I had some more time with you. I'd like to invite you again in the near future so we can get more into the spiritual world. Because there's a lot of people that don't understand it, and I think by talking about it a little bit more, it will help people understand, exactly, individuals and people such as yourself do, and, like I said, we're running out of time. So I'd like to, give you the floor here on the show. If you want to plug in any of your information so people can contact you, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Michael. I can be found on Instagram, and my handle is at Grace Huang Coaching. That's Huang. And that is the same handle for YouTube as well, Grace Huang Coaching. And for Facebook, if you are a woman and you are looking to join a sisterhood of like-hearted and empowered women who are exploring their inner femininity and their healing journey, feel free to check out Savage Sisterhood Sanctuary. And as for my personal Facebook, it's facebook.com/grace.huang.413.
Wow. That's awesome. Guys, you just heard Grace. She is the founder and CEO of Lotus Coaching. Like you said, Grace, you can find her just about everywhere. With that being said, thank you very much, Grace, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
And an honor. Thank you. Yes. very much.
You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle Podcast, an Anchor platform.